really just some of the heart of the Four Seasons. We have co-creator, co-showrunner, executive producer, and director, Lang Fisher. And we have Anne herself, Kerri Kenney-Silver. Hello. All right, I'm gonna have you sit over here so we balance out. Wonderful. Well, thank you both for being here. This is such an exciting time. Oh, I think you have to flip it on. Maybe? You know what? Help! There we go. There we go. Well, thank you both.
Is mine working?
Yeah,
okay,
there you go. Well, you know, it's been a whirlwind month for the Four Seasons. You premiered on Netflix at the beginning of May. You had, and I want to make sure I have this right to give you due credit, you had 11.9 million views in the opening weekend, which is incredibly impressive, especially for a half-hour show. And you got a season 2. What's this month been for you?
I mean, it's been unreal, you know, because it was a lovely show to make. It was, you know, this cast and the crew, everyone was just a really wonderful person, and we had such a nice time making it, and the writers are all great. And so, you know, I was like, this is gonna be a flop. Like, because like only the shows that are like a real nightmare, where you're like there 100 hours a week, and like everyone's mean to each other, and there's drama, and then they're like, you get a season 2, and you're like, great. I can't wait to do this again. So, you know, the fact that this has had such a wonderful reception has been, I think, huge for all of us. I think we've just been bowled over.
Yeah, we had Erica and I. Erica, who plays Ginny, we're actually friends in real life.
Oh, good.
It's okay. She and I were texting the night before the show premiered, and I said, I feel like we had a baby a year ago, and tomorrow we're sending that 1-year-old out into traffic. And are people gonna be nice to the baby? Are they gonna hit the baby?
Yeah.
Are they gonna ignore, well, even worse, are they gonna just ignore the baby? So
I love that.
People like the baby.
Yeah, good. The Netflix traffic, the Netflix queue didn't bowl over the Four Seasons. Well, I want to talk about this show. Obviously, it has a lot of fans here already. But I want to talk a little bit about how we even got to this point. So, Lang, what's your path as a creator, and how did you find yourself at the Four Seasons?
Well, it started, I mean, gosh, it started before the strike. So a while ago, Tracy and Tina and I all decided we wanted to make something together, and Tina wanted to come back to television, to being a regular on TV, and she hadn't been a regular since 30 Rock. And so when she asked Tracy and I to work with her on something, I mean, we were like, yes, obviously, we would, of course, thank you. But she wanted to do something that was a very different tone than any of her other shows had been. And, you know, she wanted to do something more grounded. She wanted to do something that was more like emotional, like something that felt more streaming. And so we were pitching a lot of ideas to each other, and she kept referencing the Four Seasons, which the movie, which is one of her favorite movies. And so Tracy and I had never seen the movie, and so we kind of were like, well, we should probably just watch that movie. So we watched it, and we were like, this is the perfect idea for a show. And we were like, why don't we just make that? And so we got very lucky that, you know, Alan Alda gave us his blessing, and he's been a really big supporter of the project. And so we just kind of like went from there. But you know, once we kind of landed on this as the idea, it was like, oh, this is great. And then we were like, the best part of that movie is you have this like cast of all your favorite people from different things coming together, and you're like, oh, Carol Burnett is married to Alan Alda, amazing. And so we were like, who are our people like that? And can we bring all of our favorite people from different things together? And once we had the cast, then we were like, oh, this is gonna be like a real show.
Well, this is obviously a TV festival, so I think people know that you were referring to Tina Fey and Tracy Wigfield, but you do have overall deals at Universal. What's it been like to kind of forge this creative partnership with the three of you?
Well, I mean, at first it was like a little nerve-wracking because, one, the last time I worked with Tina Fey, it was on 30 Rock, and I was kind of like a baby writer. She gave me my first job. And so to co-create, I've gone on to other shows, and then to come back and be like, look, we're kind of equals. Even though we're definitely not. She's Tina Fey. But, I was like, yeah, let's co-create. So there's that aspect. And then there's also the aspect of you just never know when you have multiple showrunners how it's going to go. And sometimes it ends up, that they each work in different rooms with different writers, and they don't speak to each other because they hate each other. And Tracy is truly my best friend in the world, and we had never created anything together, and I was scared that this would, it could go badly. And then Tina is our great friend who's also our hero, and we didn't want that to go badly either. So there felt like the stakes were high, but it was actually just the perfect partnership. And I think a lot of that is that we're all hardworking moms who don't have big egos, and we trust each other. And if someone's I hear your idea, but I kind of think that has a problem because of this, we really listen to each other. And if one of us digs our heels in, then the other ones are all right, if you feel that strongly, let's play it out. Let's see how that story line goes. Let's see if it works. And we are very, we're not precious about everything or about anything. And it's really whoever has the best idea wins.
I have to toot their horns a little bit, which
Please.
she won't do. But one thing that I found amazing about this was, I'm a showrunner too, not on this, but I know what that role feels like in your body, and it's spastic and terrifying, and your head is often somewhere else. Watching the three of them run this show, I called my husband on one of the days. He goes, how's it going? Have you had a chance to meet them, And I said, I don't know who is running this show, because everyone is calm and nice. You couldn't see the sort of the duck feet under the water, if there even were, because, and it's possible, this could be completely wrong, but it's possible some of the early scripts that we got as actors, usually by the time you shoot, it's completely different. And on the day, someone's running up to you with a new line. It's a very fluid process. This was almost to the word from the scripts we received months earlier. The work was done. They were present. They were encouraging and calm, and it just felt like, are we really making a show? This is too easy. What a beautiful combination the three of you are.
Thank you, Kerri.
You sound like healthier friends than the friends in this show, who certainly have their problems, don't often communicate very well. So I'm glad that it's not the case for the three of you. Well, Kerri, I think just watching this press cycle go for the show and promotion of it, I think the common and correct refrain has been just a thrilling excitement to see you in a show that people can just fall in love with. You've played so many wonderful characters. What's it been like to see your fans and new ones find you in the 4 seasons?
It's been overwhelming, but in a great way. I haven't found the right word for it yet, because overwhelming sounds like it has a negative connotation, but there's really nothing negative about it. And I didn't know. I said to my family in the beginning, because they would say, oh, just wait, when this comes out, everybody's going to think it's great. And I said, listen, I've been in this business for 37 years. There is a very good possibility that this comes out, and for whatever reason, I'm the one person that people go, she ruined it. or even if it isn't about my performance, it's I don't look right, I don't fit in some way, or we don't like the character. And so I was handed on a silver platter the character that you root for. The words were perfect. I'm surrounded by the A-team. So really it was mine to ruin.
Yours
And I'm just
to
glad,
ruin.
listen, at the end of the day, the last thing I texted to Tina as we were flying home from Puerto Rico was, I just hope I didn't break it.
You didn't break it, I
No,
think.
I have to jump in because I think Kerri is like underselling how difficult that role is, and we looked at a bunch of different actresses for it, and everyone who read our initial pages was like, it made us feel so bummed out for this character. We were like, oh, this is like so depressing. And we were like, do we do a bad job writing? Like we've made like the most depressing character. And then Kerri came in and she did this performance that was like, it's so hard to explain how like precise it is, but she is so good with the emotion, but she is just like a sniper with jokes. And so every time she would be saying these really sad things and then would nail the joke. And then like the character's not depressing. The character is funny and weird and having like a hard time, but you like can get behind her. You won't just feel like gutted when you see her. And so I just had to say that out loud because I do think Anne is one of the hardest characters we had on the show to perform.
It's true.
Well, now you've gone the other way. And I don't like how cocky you are.
I broke it.
I will say as a viewer, you miss Anne and you miss you when you're not with the group. And I think that shows how wonderful an energy you brought to
I
it.
really did worry when you don't see her in 3, that when she popped her head in at the end, that the whole Netflix audience wasn't going, oh God, she's still there.
She's back. Well, I was going to ask you what drew you to Anne, but you just answered it. So my question now is, what was it like to play Alan Alda's daughter? Because that was such a beautiful moment.
Well, I have a history with Alan. I did a movie with Alan 15 years ago called Wanderlust. And we had, I know, it's a great movie.
It's a great
If
movie.
you haven't seen the movie, it's a great movie. And Alan and I became close on that movie. And it was a commune. So we sort of lived like that a little bit while we were shooting that film. And afterwards, we stayed in touch, and I went to New York and visited him, saw him on Broadway, and then he called me at one point to ask me if I would meet his grandson for lunch to talk to him about how to get into the business. This happened. Alan Alda asked me to tell his grandson how to get into the acting business, but in fairness, it was because obviously things were quite different in the industry when Alan, feeling all cocky, like, yeah, Alan, I've got this. I drive myself to the lunch, I sit down, I look at this young man, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. Get your own TV show right out of college.
There you go.
That's how I did it. So we had a great relationship, and I heard you saying they had a crush on Alan, but I mean, as a kid, the MASH theme song meant you're supposed to be in bed, and I would watch it. I would sneak and watch it. I was obsessed, and I loved the movie The Four Seasons as an 11-year-old. I don't know. That's a whole other panel. But so this just felt too good to be true. Like even just getting to audition for this. You said, what drew you to this character? Nothing drew me to this character. I couldn't believe I got the audition for this. I couldn't believe it. Nobody had seen me for something like this ever in my career, and I haven't gone anywhere, but I was in a certain lane, and that's understandable. And then to hear, I didn't know till later on, we were well into shooting when I heard that Alan was going to play my dad. I mean, it's just like, give me a break.
The hard things in life.
No, it's too, you can't, I couldn't write that story for myself,
Well, and no one's going to listen to their grandfather give them advice. They need someone of high stature to come in and give them unrealistic expectations.
Well, his grandson, one of his grandsons worked on the film. His family, as you might imagine, is very tight, and they adore him, and he just collects family everywhere he goes. But his real family is,
In the original film, both of his daughters are in it, playing his daughters, or one of his daughters.
Well, you're continuing the tradition by having Alan in your. Well, have you two ever worked together before this?
No. But I've been a fan of Kerri's forever. I mean, I was a huge fan of The State, and loved it so much, and so I was very excited to meet her and that she would want to work on this.
See?
Me too.
Well, what we're going to do as we kind of move through our conversation, we're going to show a few clips from the show. And the first one is from the premiere. It is the dinner scene. It is, by nature of the story, one of the only times that all of you are together and laughing, all of you at the same time. And so I want to throw to that, and then I want to talk a little bit about the show. There is an honesty, there's a familiarity with all of these people in this show. There's this kind of intermingling of heart and humor. How did you go about establishing that? Obviously this is the first episode. Obviously you need to do a lot of work before then, but how do you find that balance in a scene like this?
Well, I'll let Kerri talk about the performing of it, but in the writing of it, I think we actually compiled a group of writers, many of whom we'd worked with before on 30 Rock, and everyone in the room is a person who's 50 or almost 50 and has been married for 20 years. And it's really funny because we have this murderer's row of joke writers in this room, but we're all just kind of talking about our vulnerable personal lives, and it's become therapy a little bit. But I think we really wanted, this show doesn't have aliens or a serial killer or it's really. We haven't figured out what season 2 is yet, and we may need more ideas. But, we wanted it to be grounded, and I think when you are doing a sort of grounded dramedy, to keep it away from something that feels treacly or cringy, you need those really sharp observations about what being married for that long actually is like, and it doesn't have to be crazy dramatic scenes of people throwing vases at the walls or whatever. It's these little tiny moments, these little arguments or little moments that I think feel real to people. And we've had a lot of people reach out to us and be like, we love the show. In episode 5, we did get in a fight, my husband and I. So we're hoping that the winter season, things get better. And you're like, yeah, you're gonna be fine. But it's we wanted people to watch it and be like, that's my friend group, that's me and my husband. That I am a Jack or an Ann or a Kate. We wanted people to feel that way. So I think trying to truly mine the lives of our writers' room has sort of led to that familiarity. And then I think for the actors, quite a few of them knew each other or had some relationship with each other. So, I think that led to the comfort, but also I think you're all just wonderful people and professionals and liked each other.
No, it's in the writing. It's all in the writing. And right in the beginning, I remember feeling why I feel like I know these lines already, because this sounds so pedestrian, but they write the way people speak, and not everybody does. And so the relationships are built in these little micro moments. But also, you mentioned we had somehow ramped up to this moment as actors. I had never met any of these people before. No. So I met everyone on the first day, and we're getting, someone's fixing your hair, and you're going, hi, Coleman? Yeah, nice to meet you. I knew who he was, but I just wanted to play it cool. Goldman? Oh, Coleman, yeah. But had no rapport with any of them, and some of them obviously do know one another from before. But and Alan had said they rehearsed for like 3 weeks before the film. They sort of all stayed together and rehearsed. We didn't have that luxury on this, but I don't think right away because nobody was there to prove anything. The age group, you didn't feel like you had to do I have to hold it? Do I have to? It's just, we're just folks. We've all been doing this a long time. I'm just gonna give it my best shot. And yet everyone did have something to prove to the audience. No one had seen Coleman do comedy. No one had seen me do drama. Steve Carell's character, he had done both, but no one had, who can make that guy likable? Steve Carell is the answer to that question. Marco Calvani hadn't acted in 16 years, so he's out there going, do I even remember how to do this? Tina's character, people had seen her do some drama, but not to this depth. Will Forte, his, hill to climb was he's playing Alan Alda's character. Alan Alda wrote and directed this movie. That's terrifying. And he also had admitted before that he was, when he was working with Tina on SNL, she was kind of the boss. And here he is like kissing her and she's wearing a bra. It's different. So everybody kind of had something to that was a little bit, okay, this is a little new for me, but at the same time just sort of in our paths, in our lane of the industry, we all were like, this is it,
I think it goes back to the wonderful comment, the fact that you hadn't met each other much before that at all, and then that's the scene we get out of that. That's impressive.
But then we did, Puerto Rico is where we shot Summer, and we did that around Christmas time at the end. So I don't know if that was intentional, but it was beautiful because, so you get into episode 3 and you really feel like these people, are in this cuddle pile because we had 3 months to do that before going to Puerto Rico.
Well, and you got lucky. You got to stay in the nice hotel, and they stay in the yurts. So,
dude, well, we were all staying in the nice hotel.
I figured as much,
to be
but
clear.
Spending your days filming in the yurts.
But I was only in one of those 2 episodes, and thank God the weather in Puerto Rico is unpredictable. So I had to be there for an extra week just in case they needed me. Spoiler alert, they didn't need me.
Now, obviously, talking about this, a lot of you had not met each other. When you're casting this show, do you have specific types you're looking for? You said you had not gotten to audition for something like this ever in your career. Why did you go for someone like Kerri?
Yeah, what happened?
Not to put you on the spot, but.
Well, I think when we were adapting it, we didn't want the characters to be identical to the characters on screen, and we mostly just wanted to have people, we wanted the group itself to feel like people who would really be real friends in real life. And I think by the end of the shoot, everyone is now good friends. I think some of the casting challenges for us were, trying to figure out who that Alan Alda character would be, because we weren't quite sure exactly if that character should be the exact same as in the film, and we kind of deviated. Jack is a little different. I mean, Kate is similar to the Carol Burnett character, but we made one couple a same-sex couple, and so they are very different. Although we did keep Marco Calvani plays a Claude. And in the original, it was Rita Moreno as Claudia, and she's just constantly saying, "I'm Italian," and so we did have him at some point. We were like, and that only happened after we cast him, and then we were like, "Oh my God, he is Italian. He can say that."
We also discovered in the middle of filming that Rita Moreno and Marco Calvani have the same birthday.
So real kismet. And I think because it's a longer, it's 8 episodes rather than one movie. I mean, the character of Anne in the film kind of disappears, and you really lose her. And we did not want that to happen because we wanted I mean, Anne has such an incredibly interesting story. It's like, how do you cope when your marriage of several decades collapses, and that's your main identity, and your whole friend group gets sort of like pulled away with your ex-husband. So we wanted to follow her and see what her journey was. So we kind of had to build that character out a little more. And then the other challenging one to cast was Ginny, because you've seen the younger woman trope before. You've seen her be kind of a bimbo. You've seen her be like an influencer or whatever, like something that just is sort of vapid. And we wanted this to be a nuanced character who's hopeful and a good person and who really loves this man and is trying her best. And so you can't help but also sort of root for her and Nick. And so we cast Erica Henningsen because she is just a ray of sunshine, and she is like a person that you cannot hate. Even if if she were to do this, you'd be like, yeah, but I really like her. She's a really nice person. We wanted to make sure every character felt nuanced and had multiple sides to them, but that they were all people you would root for, even Nick,
Now I want to show another clip of Anne in the Wild, if you will, from the first episode. So if we can play that one. So let's start there. Does the world have enough bowls?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
This is the only thing that's different between me and Anne. No, that scene is so hard for me to watch because I had met Tina Fey about 4 minutes before we shot that, and I was out of my body, and I didn't unpack in my. I am not kidding. This is not to be cute and funny. I did not unpack out of my bag when I arrived at the trailer that day. That was day one. That was the first 5 minutes of being there, of meeting Tina. I did not unpack anything out of my bag because I thought, when I get fired, it will be very uncomfortable and embarrassing to take like pictures of my son and put them back in the thing. So I was out of my body there. I made some choices I don't love, but we're gonna let it go.
Well, I love how you kind of captured Kate's soul. Is that something that was in the script like that, or was that a choice for you and Tina?
No, that was maybe one of 3 times that something was added on the day. And you guys said that wasn't in the script. And you guys said, maybe what would her soul sound like? And I just made that sound, and they're like, yeah, do that. So that was just on the day.
You really should have had Netflix and Universal put you up at the 4 seasons so you could get to know each other, have a little like boot camp for the 4 seasons before you get there, but it seems like it worked out even if you're meeting on the day of.
I think it worked out, and I think honestly, I think it worked out just how it was supposed to, because I think I would have gotten more in my head personally, spending social time. I got to meet them as their characters. What a gift as an actor. So I only got to know Steve after we had shot a bunch together. So I knew Nick first, and same with everybody. So that's a weird gift in a way.
Yeah. Now, was there ever? I mean, maybe the answer is this scene. Was there ever a scene, whether you're reading it or you're acting it, that you felt you really locked into Anne, because you're meeting all these actors as their characters, but when did you really lock into Anne?
Oh, I'm closer to Anne than I care to admit. I mean, really, look for the differences, like Where's Waldo is really the scenario. There's a line, what's one of my favorite lines, where Nick says, I don't want to be married to a woman who has to take a few practice steps before she gets on an escalator, and I felt so seen. I was like, who would do that? That's weird. Never wear Crocs on an escalator because they can get caught. You can lose a toe.
There we go.
I mean, really, I'm serious. Like, I don't carry myself the way Anne carries herself. That was a choice. I would hope that I go through the world with my eyes open a little bit more. But I mean, at its core, really what I had to do to play this character was not take on anything or look for. I had to just strip away to me at my base self. I don't feel like going on the boat. It's cold and wet. I don't want to do that. I don't want to put those shoes on. That's not comfortable. But we do things in our daily life, and we go to the thing that your husband wants to do, even though you'd rather not go to the thing. But Anne just didn't put on any of those airs, and so it was really more of a stripping down than a looking for the character, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, what was it like then, Lang, to see all of them come together and start to click in this way?
I mean, it's so wonderful as a writer to give your material to such talented people, because they make these characters so much richer than you could have ever imagined. I mean, the way that they all made really personal choices and cared so much about their characters, and I feel like all of you at some point, I feel like you would say something to me like, I'm happy to do this, but like I wonder if my character would say something more like this, and I'd be like, yes, do that. Because and we, everyone was it wasn't like people were like, I want a different line, write me something else. But it was just like there's a lot of like wonderful conversation about the characters that I think really added to making them feel realer, because, and it's why I think Nick is like so likable, even though he's making a very selfish choice, and why Anne is not depressing, even though she's like having a very hard time. It's like everyone really cared so much, and also it's just like these are like world-class actors, like I felt nervous stepping on the set. Like I was like, I am not of the caliber of person you are. And like everyone was like insecure for different reasons. And I think because we were all just like nice, gentle people, we were like, oh good, we could all be friends and be like insecure and nervous together. But in the end, getting to direct them also was just, it was like thrilling for me, because I would have this idea in my head, and then, we'd walk through a scene, and then like, one of these guys would be like, what if we start over here? What if we try this? And it was just like, I'm like, oh, this is like real Hollywood. I've arrived. My last show was about high schoolers, so it's like, I'm like, oh, these are real grown-ups who know what they're doing. So it was awesome.
On day one, shooting not that scene, but out having lunch by the lake, I just blurted out after the first take, I'm really nervous. And then I was like, well, don't say that. And to a person, Steve goes, I'm so glad you just said something, because every time I start a new project and the words come out of that character's mouth, I think, what am I doing here? And Tina said, I was just thinking when you said that, what do people do with their hands when they talk? So, everybody, I'm like, Coleman Domingo, you feel that? What is it? Everybody's like, okay, let's do another take.
That's amazing. I think it's very real to wonder what to do with your hands. I often sit on mine. So, we have another clip, and this is also from the first episode, but it's when we first see you and Steve playing a little prank on your friends.
My favorite thing about that is, did you hear Tina say, one of you is going to die?
Yes. Yes, foreshadowing. That's such a fun scene, because it's one of the few times we get to see the two of them playful and having fun. Obviously your dynamic with Steve changes as the show goes on, but what was it like kind of getting to play in this moment?
Oh, this scene made me really sad, because this was a reshoot. Yeah. Those first scenes, I won't speak to that. You can speak to that, but the first scenes we reshot. The storyline changed a little bit. We used to stay together. No, I'm just kidding. No.
That would be a big twist.
Spoiler alert. No, but that was the last thing I shot with Steve. Now, we still had all of Puerto Rico to hang out, and now we're friends and our families hang out. But this Nick and Ann, that was the last Nick and Ann scene that we shot, and I was really sad, and Steve was sad, and Steve was like, I watched it hit him. He goes, are we saying anything about any spoiler? Okay, anyway, we were sad that it was the last time we were shooting as Nick and Ann together. So we had a blast. We have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, Lang's in charge of spoilers.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just like, my eyes are just combing the crowd.
Yeah.
To be like, who's finished the season?
I won't say.
Hopefully a lot.
Everything turns out great.
Yes. Well, what about, creating something like that? Obviously, you need to give them and the audience a moment to see them playful and happy, just to kind of break it down. So was that part of kind of constructing and building the first act of the show, really?
Yeah, I think what is hard, for the writers in the audience, I think what was hard about this show is, I feel like a lot of shows you start and there's a problem, or something's wrong, or someone's in a weird place. And we were starting a show where to the outside observer, everything's great. Everything is perfectly fine. It's just friends hanging out. And that's hard because the audience needs to hold on to something. They need to know why are we here? Why are we just watching these famous people have dinner? What do I care about? What is this about? And I think we did reshoots of the beginning because we wanted to, it was kind of twofold. We wanted to make sure we saw them and that everybody was kind of getting a moment to be really funny and score in the way that these comedy actors really can score. And then we also, it felt like before we had kind of more scenes until we got to Nick declaring that he was going to leave his wife. And it honestly, we felt like we just needed to take stuff out. It's you need to get to that moment faster, so that everyone's oh, this is what it is. This is a friend group that loves each other, and it's about to be a wrench is about to go in the spokes because this guy is pulling a ripcord and no one else knows what to do. And so we just kind of had to make a more condensed act one.
Well, and one of the aspects of the show is after these 2 episode blocks, the audience has to catch up a little bit. And so
Exactly.
You're having to write both what's happening in the moment and fill in the blanks as the seasons go on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That's fun to watch it as an audience member, if nothing else.
It was fun to write. It was, I think the structure of it is really fun. It's you see them only on these trips, and, we start on a weekend away at their friend's house, and then it's 3 months have gone by, and you're where are they emotionally, from that? And then it's then they're on this vacation, and then it's you jump 3 more months, and you get to play with things Danny has blonde hair now. Something's going on with him. And then it's did Kate and Jack go to therapy? How's that working? It's seeing, that we really enjoyed playing with.
It's so hard as a sketch comedy writer brain to not think, okay, if it were me, each time you jump to a new season, another character would have an eye patch, but it would never be mentioned.
Those jokes have been pitched in the room. We all it's I do feel because everyone's a 30 Rock writer, it's everyone's sitting there tense, and it'll be and then we whip to a flashback where a crazy woman is throwing pies. It's I'm so sorry, I just had to say it. Now we will go back to the show. It's everyone's champing at the bit. And I feel even in the season, it's the closer you get to winter, by the time we get to winter, there are a few kind of borderline 30 Rock-ish characters that kind of appear. It's we all just like the floodgates opened like just a little bit. But we really were working, and we're doing it again as we work on season 2. It's like a real activity of restraint.
Eye patches, though, that might be fun just to throw in there. It'll help her.
Season 3.
Season 3, there you go.
Yeah, season 3, we'll just have like taken our belts off, and it's like, all right, we'll just make 30 Rock again.
There you go. All right, well, we have one more clip that we want to show. Some physical comedy there.
Kerri is really good hand-eye coordination.
Right?
I couldn't believe it. Also, I would like to say, I'd like to get this on record. When we were doing the Frisbee scene, I was the only one that caught the Frisbee every time. And I say this because who would have thought? Not me.
I know, you did just keep catching it, and everyone else missed. We were like, well, we've got Anne catching the Frisbee.
No one knew I could do sports, and no one knew I could do drama.
There you go. Adding things to the resume every day on the 4 seasons. Well, obviously, this is not something that the strawberry industry is going to use as promotion for their future season, but what is it like to kind of let loose as Anne in this moment?
I mean, I couldn't wait for this on the page. Again, this was like, I think this was my last day of shooting. And I was like, get me the fuck out of here. No, I wasn't. Not at all. No, but for the character, this moment and the scene with Ginny around the fire at the end were the two that were the most cathartic for me. This one because for the audience, I wanted people to have a release after just watching her get batted around in the wind. I wanted her to take back her power, and I wanted people to feel that with me, like a rhythm to it, you know? And it just keeps going and going and going. And then in the scene with Ginny, to Lang's point, you cannot not love Erica Henningsen. She is buttered toast. She is a ball of sunshine. And so Anne couldn't help but love her either. So what I didn't expect when we were shooting that last scene around the fire was the release was not about the validation that the marriage, was really worth something, was real. The release was, I want connection with this person. This person I'm drawn to this person. And so to be able to let that go. So in those 2 moments, for me as an actor, like getting to have those moments and play those moments, sometimes those kind of moments are not on the page and you're just supposed to arrive at them. But as soon as I read that, I was like, oh yeah, we're doing this.
Well, I love the little detail that the first time she sees those strawberries, she kind of balks at the price. And then she kind of puts it down, and then she comes back and buys all of them because she feels that this is that moment. So even in that moment, we see that Anne is taking those baby steps to growth. That's got to be satisfying as an actor and a writer.
I gotta say too, you never saw it, but the props department put $70 on that sticker. So that was just my real face, like, okay.
I think we all would have done the same for the strawberry, the jazzy strawberry. Well, obviously, we talked a little bit about the reception, but it bears repeating. I mean, over 11 million people watching this on the first weekend. There's so much TV now, sometimes it all fades away very quickly, but this has really resonated with audiences, some of which are here. Why do you think that has been? I mean,
hopefully it's, what I was saying before, it's like people see their friends in this, they see their marriages, and I've really been enjoying how many couples are watching it together and like having conversations about their lives. And I don't know, I also kind of think there's, not to be a downer, but it feels like there's a lot of like bleak things out in the world right now, and it feels like it's just like a nice, heartwarming story. It kind of feels retro. We're sort of operating in the tone of like these like 80s, movies like The Big Chill and the Four Seasons and like Terms of Endearment. And I think we don't like get that that much anymore. I feel like movies like that aren't really made anymore, and I think people like them. So hopefully that's part of it.
I love to see the representation of our age group. I can only speak for myself as an actor. At 55, I would be wrapping it up 15 years ago, and that's just fact. And there was no judgment around it back then. That's how it was. It's like you're not going to be a long-distance sprinter at 90, probably. That's how it is. So as an actress in Hollywood, even as a comedian, your best hope at 55 was the persnickety mother-in-law who came in once every 5 episodes and wagged her finger, left the room, and everyone went, oh boy. And then the story continued. And so to have this like, wait, there's more? And also you're telling a story, I suspected it was I feared it would be just a very niche show. And I'm so glad that it hasn't been. My son and his friends, he's 19, they're finding things in there that are entertaining and different reasons to watch. It's hit a wider audience than I expected, which I love, but just selfishly, I love that for 55-year-olds are in that world. People can see themselves represented in a way that isn't just an incidental, wacky neighbor.
Well, you're not only not wrapping it up, but you have a good sports future ahead of you. If this show
I
is any
might be that
indication.
90-year-old sprinter.
Ultimate Frisbee on a college campus, you never know. Has there been any surprising reactions to Anne or the show or anything that, as you've been talking about over the past month and change?
I mean, I think what Kerri, I forgot who you were for a second. You were so in character. I think what Kerri was saying is like the most surprising things to me is like when my friend's 16-year-old daughter texted me to be like, I love the show, and like my friends love it. It's like, really? What do you like? But that just that people that I didn't expect to watch it have watched it and have loved it, and I think there is a little part of us who are like comedy snobs who we felt a little nervous about putting this like earnest thing out there, and like normally so used to like hiding behind hard comedy and like jokes, and I think we were afraid that like our comedy snob colleagues who are still making stuff like that would be like, yeah, it was nice, and like people are like, no, we loved it, and that felt nice to me because like I think especially being a woman in comedy and like coming up I think a few decades ago trying to like break into comedy when it was such a boys club and like wanting to be like, I'm so tough, I don't care about emotions, I like love like just jokes, and then like being able to make this and be like, I do care about emotions, I have them. I have a huge bleeding heart and I love to cry. And then having like the dudes that like I've tried to be tough around being like, we cried during it and we laughed and we thought it was hilarious, and like I don't know, it in a way it was this like real moment of validation and also like a relief of being like, okay, we can all just kind of like lots of stuff and like be nice to each other, and nobody has to like, I don't know, it's like when you get old enough you can kind of just be like, yeah, your project's great too and mine's good, and like we're all doing different things and it's fine.
Yeah, the state guys were at the premiere, and I really thought my best hope for it was that they'd be like, fist bump me that like, you're in a show with Steve Carell. But they just were really emotional about the story and about, I think, the same thing, feeling represented in some way. I'm so glad because we didn't know what people were gonna think.
There's unexpectedly something for everyone. I've never seen something more relatable than not wanting to be on a boat with someone driving crazy on the water. Well, as we mentioned, you have been renewed for season 2. Now, it sounds like you're writing it. You're in the process of it. We won't ask you to spoil anything, but have you already started to think of the destinations you're going to have Netflix and Universal send you to for filming?
Yes. Outer space.
There's options for that now, apparently.
Yeah, no, nobody likes anyone who goes to outer space, so we can't do that. That will seal our fate. No, we just got started. We are only finishing the second week in the room, and we definitely have talked about places. Nothing is concrete yet, but it will follow the same group of people. It's not, an anthology series. I think the vacations are not the main thing in the show. I think it's the group is the main thing. And so I think we left on season 1 ends on a cliffhanger, and it's is this what the group looks like now? And I think we are kind of just talking about that right now. It's okay, so then what's the next natural step forward? But it's fun. It's fun to talk about it. Since we're so early, we're definitely doing pie in the sky ideas. We're what if we went here, or we did this kind of a vacation, and could this happen? So, but there's really no spoilers because we have no idea what we're doing yet.
Great.
I want to meet Claude's family.
There you go. Okay.
I'm putting it out there. Can you imagine a bunch of Claudes like that?
I mean, Rita Moreno seems like a good person to cast for that. Just throwing that out there. This is the eye patch time of writing, where everything goes.
Yes, anything goes. No bad ideas.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Well, do you, Kerri, have anything personally you'd like to see for Anne? I know that you really like the writing, but is there anything that you're curious about?
No.
No.
I mean that. I never could I couldn't be more grateful to not be part of a writing staff, because everything that they have come up with, every time I would get a new draft of something, I was like, what? I never would have taken it there. I never would have taken the care. I didn't see that coming. Just masterclass. So no pressure, Lang.
No pressure.
But no, I feel like you can kind of get lazy now because you did a great job on the first season.
Oh, Kerri, I'd love to. I'd love to get real lazy.
I love it. There's a lot of room to grow with these characters, it seems, and so the seasons are not
Well, when
over.
you start with real people, they can go anywhere
They could
except space.
Except space. Yeah, no space, please. Well, I think we have some time for a few audience questions. Right back there. You will go right to this mic right here, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's taller than me. Okay, can I go? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hi, love the show. I watched it with my mom and my sister, and so they're both 20 plus years married, so it was a fun watch for them. So thank you both. I'm coming here with a green writer question in the sense of what makes a good joke. I've been in post a long time. I was in television post. I actually moved back from LA here. So my question is, I'm writing a sketch comedy for the first time, so I'm going on that side. And as I write it with my friend, we're laughing it up, right? Because we're just thinking it's so funny. So when you write a joke, though, I read an article where you work for The Onion and you were sharing your experience on working for Brooklyn Nine-Nine and the Mindy Kaling, and I kept seeing the thread of it's a group sport, right? Y'all would punch up jokes, which I just learned what punch up means. So, my main question is what makes a good joke? How do you know when it's funny? So you're going out with the best you have versus just one pass at it.
I mean, I think it's good that you're laughing at what you've written. So if it makes you laugh, there's a good chance it'll make other people laugh. In a writer's room, and Kerri, obviously, jump in here too.
In a writer's room. Not
No,
yet.
don't just say what I say. No, I think when we're in a room and we have a bunch of people trying to punch up a joke, so trying to make a joke funnier is basically what punch up a joke means. And it's if something kind of feels a little flat, you kind of chuckle, but it's not really, it kind of feels either you've heard it before or just doesn't have the oomph that you want it to have, like, then we will just, everyone will just like pitch ideas, things that make it better. And it's hard to like put into words what makes something funnier. I kind of find that the funniest things are things that are surprising but well observed, or they're just like a thing that you weren't expecting, and that makes you laugh because it sort of hits you somewhere, like that is a little bit surprising. So when we're like beating a joke, we are usually like, people are saying things, and sometimes you'll say a sentence and there will be a little part of that sentence that somebody else takes and makes that sentence better or sharper, and then somebody else will even make it even better. And like, so it does feel like by the end, 4 people have written one sentence and have made it the funniest it could possibly be.
I would add that so this is not a pitch, but it is. Next week is the premiere of the State documentary at Tribeca. And the State was a sketch comedy group that I was in on MTV, and we're still together today. In fact, a year ago, last week, we did a show at the Paramount here. But the reason I bring that up is because I just saw a rough cut. And I'm watching back to our early days. We're 18 years old, writing sketch comedy together. And we were so mean to each other. And we had the best time, and we love each other to death to this day, and we still work together. But when we were in that room, there was nothing more serious than that fart joke. And there were chairs thrown, there were tears. We took it so deadly seriously, and feelings did not belong. If it isn't funny, I'm gonna tell you, that isn't funny. I love you, bro, but it isn't funny. Here's what I think is funnier. And so you can't get to that place. Maybe there's nicer ways to do it now, but you can't get to that place of pure honesty without being purely honest. You can do it in a kind way. You don't have to throw chairs. But I think honesty is deadly important with your partners. And I learned a little thing, which is if you're doing sketch comedy and the crew is not laughing, then you've done something wrong. If you're doing grounded work that happens to be funny and the crew is laughing, you're too big.
Good to know.
Thank you both.
Well, I'm told we have to wrap up now, but Kerri Lang, thank you so much for coming and talking the Four Seasons, and you can stream the Four Seasons on Netflix.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.